It's just like we practiced. I like that. That's good. Hey, it's a real pleasure to be here for a lot of reasons. First of all, to see all this community of creators and builders and makers. But for me, I got to tell you, the highlight is seeing our students and what they've gone through in this process. And you know, every time I hear Noah and other entrepreneurs up on stage talking about this, my first reaction is, you guys are crazy. You know, it's always a discussion about failing and failing often and tough judges and hard work after hours and getting up early. And it says a lot to me about your passion and your belief in what you're doing. And being willing to go through a process that in many ways is all about being not forgiving and putting your idea to the test and having everyone throw rocks at it, not with the idea of being critical, but with the idea of using that criticism to make it better. And what comes out, as we've seen, is really magical. And so I want to really applaud you for your vision and your confidence and your perseverance. And another word that is often lost is your teamwork. You know, the other thing that always strikes me about these events, we sometimes have this ideal of entrepreneurs being loners, right? The single genius in their garage coming up with something. And that mythology of the innovator, I think, is really a myth. In reality, this is a community effort. This is a team sport. Every entrepreneur I've ever met tells a story about the people that made it happen, the supporters, the colleagues, the competitors, the customers, the mentors, the investors that bought into the idea, joined the team, and made this sort of magic happen. So my hat is really off to all of you for what you've gone through. So regardless of what happens when the big checks come out, and I understand they really are big checks, I want you to know that you've already won in many respects. And I hope you take from this winning one important thing, and that is the encouragement to keep doing what you did to get to this point. Because the other thing I always learn from these events is that it never stops. Entrepreneurs go on to become serial entrepreneurs, and it becomes addictive. And I hope you've caught the bug. So one of the other things I wanted to tell you is that with all this passion and energy and drive and collaboration, and maybe you've been too busy to notice this, but I would ask you to step back from all the intense work you've been doing on your projects and look around this room. What you may not realize in the midst of all your work is that what you're doing is actually contagious. The work you've been doing on your projects is actually motivating and inspiring the teams alongside you. The judges who are there criticizing are all excited. The investors who are here are sharing ideas. And this whole creative soup that we're in and seeing right in front of us is very contagious. And what we're trying to do here at Pitt is to encourage and nurture that. We've been trying to build an ecosystem of innovation entrepreneurship and make sure that it's also being critiqued and improved each and every day. And you know, if you think about some of the recent things we've done, our startup blitzes and our entrepreneurial cafe and our freshman innovation and entrepreneurship living and learning community, our blast furnace, student accelerator, you know, we are building a culture, a habit of being innovators. And as a result, over the last year, Pitt students launched a record 12 startups. And I expect that number to keep going up year after year as we continue to do this. Each of these startups is developing an incredible line of products from oxygen, portable oxygen generators to mobile platforms for real-time language translation, as we heard about. But more importantly, it's building up this excitement. It's other students who may not have thought of this are catching on and wanting to be part of this. And this is, in fact, how you do make a difference. It's not the altruistic, empty thing. It's the hard work of taking an idea and putting it into practice in a real way. So we wanted to support what you're doing, fanning the flames of innovation, as you see, as a community effort. And I'd like to acknowledge that community right now. I want to thank all the event sponsors for your encouragement and your help. I want to really appreciate Mark Melandro and his Innovation Institute team for giving our students so many hands-on experiences in entrepreneurship, and Babs Carrier for her leadership and commitment every year, and all of you know Babs and the energy that she brings to this. But most of all, I'd like to thank Bob Randall and the Randall family. You think back 9 years ago, I wasn't even here yet, but you must have had an idea about what could happen here. Bob has been a longtime advocate for using innovation to drive economic growth and has been one of those critical and persistent voices that we can do more and we can do better. Whether that's here in the region, whether that's in our state, whether that's the whole country, or whether that's the world. It's a passion I hear from Bob most of all because of his role on the Board of Trustees. He's also on the Allegheny Conference on Community Development and U.S. Chamber of Commerce. And what I really want to applaud the Randall family for doing is being that catalytic spark. It must be impressive to you to see what has become of this. That was your big idea, and it was really contagious. And the university, the region, and I think the world are better off for it. With that, I'd like, please join me in thanking the Randall family for making all of this happen. So if that was just a 9-year start, Bob, we're looking forward to what's going to happen next. So please, why don't you come up to the stage, Bob?
Thank you, Chancellor Gallagher. Welcome, everybody. Every year, there's more of you, and every year, there is better of you. But before I say anything more, I just think we ought to take a moment to thank Babs Carrier for what she does. This gal makes it happen. And don't stop. Chancellor Gallagher mentioned culture. I have witnessed in the last 10 years the beginning of a culture change here at the university. And it continues daily, I think. It's night and day just in the last 5 years, as I recall. What's changed is the mentality, the leadership gets it, and the amount of support that has come to the surface, that is in place now and continues to grow. That is so important for what you're doing. And the whole idea, basic, this is what universities need to be doing. Creating real-world education, value, and experience. This is pure. No matter what happens after you graduate, no matter what your endeavors are going forward, this loads your gun. I don't care what you do. These experiences and education that you're going through with the teamwork, with the support groups, with the mentors, is pure. And you will absolutely benefit long term. You're learning how to play the game early on, which is terrific. Because up until the last several years, graduates are going out with deer looking in the headlights, literally. And what you're going to do when you leave the university or grad school is hit the ground running, no matter what you're doing, whether it's a big idea another idea, or you're going to be an engineer. Doesn't make any difference. Your gun's loaded. And so I commend the university's leadership for continuing to push the culture change. We have a long way to go. We're not where I believe we need to be. And I think leveraging what we've built to date is absolutely doable and a necessity. This is a microcosm of what the future should be for this university. I read an article in the Wall Street Journal recently that really was appalling. And basically what it said was only 7 to 8% of entrepreneur startups are a percentage of our total business. 7 to 8% are entrepreneurial startups. Back in the 80s, it was 12 to 13 and up to 15%. What's happened? Maybe lethargy. Maybe a lack of all what we just talked about. But I will tell you, what's happened here can happen anywhere. And it takes the right people, the right commitment, the right ideas. So I congratulate you all for your participation. I know you put a lot of blood, sweat, and I'm sure tears into these endeavors. And I wish you all luck going forward. It's not whether you win or lose at this stage. It's what you've gained while going through the process. So good luck, all the best. Hail to Pitt.